Hello everyone, Cowbunger here. Today I'm going to do something really different. I am going to talk about the Switch 2 and specifically what I expect / what I want from Switch 2. As far as I can tell from leaks, the Switch 2 is looking like just a better version of the Switch, which is great, like whatever, the Switch is perfect as it is, kinda in a way. But the main thing that people want for it is for it to be more powerful, to have better specs, so that we can bring in more modern games from modern consoles like the PlayStation 4 and these big PC games over to Switch so that they can actually play them without being downgraded in some way. We also expect, of course, a lot of good first-party Nintendo content, and that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Nintendo content that I want to see and I'm expecting out of the Switch 2. I just think it's a really fun thing to talk about before the Switch 2 properly gets revealed, which, man, it sure does feel like it's coming very soon, so I feel pressured to make this video. I'm gonna kind of make it like a podcast, have some visuals here and there, but for the most part, what I'm trying to do here is basically just go on a big old rant about a whole bunch of different games. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for being channel members too, of course. The main thing behind my reasoning for stuff is basically like what I'm expecting each studio that works at Nintendo to be working on for the Switch 2. Then other than that, I'm just going to throw in some curveballs here and there of just things that I would like to see. I don't want this to be like a super long video, so I'm going to try my best to just like go through everything as fast as possible, okay? Let's start with the most obvious first party game that's probably going to be revealed right alongside the Switch 2. There's going to be a new 3D Mario game. I think there's a lot of possibilities for a new 3D Mario game. The most likely thing that's probably going to happen is an Odyssey 2, and I say that mainly just because, I don't know, when it comes to Odyssey 2, the only thing you really have to do is invent some new areas with some new enemies that do different things from the first game. You could still have the gimmick where you possess the enemies, and, that's a new game. That's just a new game, and I really don't see how they wouldn't want to do that. In some way, shape, or form, expand upon the first game. Maybe add even more collectibles, just crazy stuff like that. I mean, that's the most likely path to me, but we did see Bowser's Fury change things up a little bit where, it's making a very cool mix between Odyssey and 3D World aspects, with like an open world, but still kind of like a collectathon, and it still has like the controls of 3D World. I just think Bowser's Fury is an indication of what they're probably going to end up doing with an Odyssey 2. I don't think, like, for example, they could just go with a whole new game, whole new name, whole new gimmicks, and it's possible, but I think Bowser's Fury was definitely a point and a nod at, hey, this is what we're going to do. And again, it doesn't even need to be called Odyssey 2, I guess, but they're going to do something where it basically feels like a Mario 64, where you're going along in a level and just collecting different things. And that's just Mario there, so it's not going to be anything super special, but I think that the new Mario game, while it'll probably end up being pretty safe, should be really fun. If it were up to me, I'd do Galaxy 3 already. That's just me, man. And yeah, I don't think we're going to get it, but it would be really cool if we did. I don't think that's more likely than even just like a completely new game, though. I think the Galaxy games are going to kind of stay on the Wii for at least a while. I feel like Galaxy 3 is like pressing the big red emergency button. So I don't think Nintendo's there quite yet, but I think if they need it, they're going to push the button at some point. Just not yet. Of course, another thing that Nintendo's going to do is do a new 2D Mario game. And again, I'm expecting them to just be safe and go with Wonder 2. Because again, when it comes to the gimmick of the Wonder Seeds, all you really have to do is kind of rehash that, but put some new spin on it. The Wonder Seeds allow the level design to be as creative as humanly possible, so I don't see a reason why they wouldn't just do it again. And then the art style too is very well received. You could add new badges. I mean, again, it's just one of those types of games where while it's great on its own, it could really be built upon and be something really special with a sequel, I think. So I feel the same way about Odyssey, and I think that's the direction that Nintendo should go. I think out of the two, between Odyssey and Wonder, I think Wonder's definitely more likely to get a sequel. I think that's basically the only direction that 2D Mario should be going right now, or at least games that look like Wonder. But I think the way Wonder played was great, and I would like to see a sequel, and I would like to see it expanded upon for sure. Now, finally, we're gonna get a new Mario Kart game. For sure. I can't wait for it. I don't know how they're going to expand upon Mario Kart. I would like to think and just hope that with this Mario Kart game, what they probably should do is, of course, keep anti-gravity. And they should probably just add a shit ton of items. Maybe bring back the double dash mechanic. I think that would be great, like adding items that are specific to different characters or character combinations or whatever. I think that's the direction they should go. They should just do something with the items, because the actual racing in Mario Kart is so solid, and they've basically covered all the gimmicks that they possibly could, I think, besides maybe just straight up flying. But I think the gliding is what they want. Who knows though, maybe they'll add flying in there. I don't know. I mean, that could be the possibility there. It'd be kind of hard to bring back retro tracks and include flying sections in them. Like, it's okay to add gliding sections for sure, but full-on flying sections, yeah, I don't know. Unless there is, again, like dynamic level design, I guess, for lack of a better term, where the tracks change each lap or something like that. Again, I would really like to see that in Mario Kart, because the Mario Kart competitors, mainly Sonic racing games, they kind of explore the whole dynamic racetrack thing. So I'd like to see Mario do that too. I just think that that's the natural next step if they are going to actually change up how the racing is. So we'll see. I think for them bringing back so many retro tracks, and for them to actually bring back ones that are already brought back with the booster pack, like one thing that they could do to really spice up the old retro tracks is by making it so that the tracks are dynamic in some way. So that way they can add in whichever ones they want, but because of the dynamic changing of the levels, they will feel new and fresh, even if it was already brought back once in some other game. Next up, we got a new Mario RPG or two. I say two because I know for sure one is probably going to happen. Like, I have 100% confidence points in everything that I've talked about so far. And for sure, I have confidence that there's going to be at least one new Mario RPG on the Switch too. When it comes to two of them, it's like, it's pushing it a little bit, but I think it's still possible. The one Mario RPG that is definitely going to happen, I'm going to be so happy when it happens, is going to be a new Paper Mario, and it's going to be an actual RPG game. It's not just going to be some gimmicky exploration game with maybe some RPG mechanics that aren't very fleshed out in it. No, it's going to be Paper Mario as we have seen it in 64 and Thousand Year Door. Just going to be a brand new game that's similar to those types of games. I have been waiting for a game like that for literally my entire life. Okay? Literally, I played Thousand Year Door when I was like 5 years old. And I've been waiting ever since then for a new Paper Mario game, basically. I know that the other Paper Mario games exist, like Super Paper Mario is not bad, Sticker Star, Color Splash, I haven't played anything since Sticker Star, but I know those games exist, but I really need like an actual new Paper Mario game, please, God, and I think it will happen. Thousand Year Door has shown that it's probably going to happen, and I cannot be happier. It's the whole reason why it's so important for it to come back. It's not that, oh, it's back and now you don't have to spend like $100+ on a GameCube copy of the game, although that's great. But it indicates a new direction for the series where they're saying we're going to go back to the old way of doing things. So that's why it's really exciting. Now, the other Mario RPG series that I think could be getting a new game, this is like the best timeline possible, but I think it's less likely, is a Super Mario RPG sequel. One that will bring back Mallow, Geno, and then maybe add some new playable characters in there. Maybe some original characters that we have never seen before, just like how Mallow and Geno were. Or maybe they could just add some new, like a Yoshi in there that you can play as. Like other playable characters that are usually playable in other Mario games, like Luigi or Donkey Kong. Like, imagine how cool that would be. Just a new Super Mario RPG game developed by Nintendo, Square Enix, whoever else. And it's maybe not a continuation, a sequel to the first game, but it's just a new story set within that universe with brand new mechanics and stuff. I found it very interesting that the remake added some new mechanics and made me think, oh, okay. So like with the triple attacks and the combo counter, I guess you could call it, where you kind of, as you keep doing perfect commands, you keep a counter going up that gives you buffs and stuff. That stuff's really interesting, and that makes me think, they could maybe be thinking about doing a sequel that brings back those mechanics and then adds more to it. I would love to see it. And I hope it happens. I don't think it's a 100% guarantee, but I think Square Enix and Nintendo, if they have done the Super Mario RPG remake, which was impossible, then they could absolutely do a sequel. It's more likely than not, at least. I'm not saying that it's like a 50% chance. No, it's more likely than not, but it's still not like a 100% guarantee. I would like to see it. I hope Square Enix does it, gives us some more fan service with Mallow and Geno. It would be great. Now, let's talk about Donkey Kong for a second. It's been so long since there's been a new Donkey Kong game, and I think once Retro Studios is done with Metroid Prime 4, I think the next thing that they're going to want to do is probably a new Donkey Kong game. So I'm expecting this to be late into the Switch 2's life cycle, but I still think a new 2D Donkey Kong game from Retro is probably going to end up happening. There's a possibility too that there could be a 3D Donkey Kong game, but as far as I know, there was one in development and it got canceled. So it's just a matter of if they want to revisit that or not. I don't think that's very likely. I don't think like a 3D game is very likely unless that's what Retro Studios wants to do. But when it comes to the Donkey Kong Country series, there's been Donkey Kong Country Returns and then Tropical Freeze. But I don't think Retro Studios, they haven't had their trilogy. And I think for the Switch 2, it's time to complete their trilogy of Donkey Kong Country games. That's just me, though. That's what I would like to see, and I think that's the most likely thing to happen if there's going to be a new Donkey Kong game. Every single console for Nintendo, they seem to want to have a new Mario sports game or two. I'm only going to predict one, because the sports games have not been doing super hot, but I think what's going to end up happening is that there's going to be a new Mario baseball game, because there hasn't been a baseball game in a long time. So that would be my guess as to what's going to happen. And it's going to be really hard to beat the one on the Wii just on like a roster front, and I thought the gameplay of it was fine too. So there were a couple cool modes in it, and there's just a lot of silliness in that game, honestly. But if they can make something that's competent, right, something that is a little more competitive too, like these past sports games have been, without feeling like a downgrade, right? I think the Mario sports game that really didn't feel like a downgrade compared to the other sports games was really Mario Tennis Aces. So if they can achieve something that brings something similar to the table as Aces did with Mario Baseball, then I think it'll be in a pretty good spot, and it should bring back some faith in the sports games. Again, I don't really predict that there's going to be another one. Maybe there could be another like sports collection game, but I don't think that's likely. I don't. Again, Square Enix is usually the ones who develop that, so I guess it's just up to them. I would like to think that with Mario and Sonic Olympic games not being a thing anymore, that maybe Nintendo will want to fill the gap in some way. Maybe with a sports mix thing. I don't know. Alright, I think for the Switch 2 that there's going to be 2 new Mario Party games. So on top of the one that's coming out pretty soon, I think over the Switch 2's lifespan there's going to be 2 new Mario Parties, because the developers who are making the Mario Party games seem to churn things out relatively quickly. And Mario Party games just print money. There's no reason not to do like 2 more, right? Just keep adding on and adding on and adding on. And it's going to work, man. It's going to be great. And hopefully none of them are like downgrades to what we're getting right now with Jamboree. It seems like Jamboree is going to be really good. If it gets better from there, dude, we're probably going to go into like the Mario Party renaissance. So, hey, I'm looking forward to if that's really the direction that we're headed. This is one that is less likely, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because, again, there hasn't been a trilogy for this yet, and I think that anybody involved in these games will probably want to do this. It's going to be a new Mario Rabbids game. So the third game in this series. I would like to think that it's going to happen, but it seems like there's been a lot of moving parts in Ubisoft where people important to these games have seemed to move on or get laid off or whatever else. So, I'm not too sure about it, but I'd like to see a third game, and I'd like to see, I don't know, a bunch of playable characters. I'd like to actually see Mario and Rayman together or something. Like, that would just be cool fan service. But again, there's a lot of weird things surrounding Ubisoft right now. I don't know what their business plans are. I would like to think that they will continue to want to work with Nintendo because it seems to be a thing that is working pretty well for them. It's making them money, so I think they'd want to try and continue their partnership in some way. And the easiest way to continue to make money is just make another Mario and Rabbids game. This next one I think is probably going to 100% happen. It's going to be a new Yoshi game. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean a new 2D platformer. Doesn't even necessarily mean a new 3D platformer, though I'd love to see Yoshi in like a 3D environment, throwing eggs around, having puzzles involving a 3D environment for once. That could be a nice change to the Yoshi game formula, I guess. But I think, honestly, the direction they should go is probably just some kind of spin-off with Yoshi. Because the Yoshi games have not been doing hot, honestly. And I think they might need some franchise that's a little more experimental in there. So why not just throw Yoshi into some kind of weird new experimental game? I'm thinking something similar to Princess Peach Showtime, right? Where that game, it's not falling under any specific genre, right? It's just more of a gimmicky game that has Princess Peach in it. And then maybe if people liked it, then they can make a sequel or something like that. I think they should do something like that with Yoshi, where Yoshi is just in this completely different thing. It's a bit more experimental, but since Yoshi is there and Yoshi is cute, people are going to want it. And I think that it could do Yoshi some wonders at this point to just be involved in something different. Yoshi, for the past so many years now, has just been in nothing but 2D platforming games that are like, I don't know, very colorful. There's like a different art style to it. Like, sure, that's great and all, but still, you're just doing 2D platformers over and over again. And I don't think, while they're usually decent. Like, I just don't think this is the direction that Yoshi should just keep on going in. I think it needs some kind of shake-up, so I'd like to see some kind of spin-off or 3D platformer if they're going to do a platformer. That's just me, though. Finally, I'm going to predict that there's going to be a new WarioWare or two, and this is going to round out all my Mario game predictions. Again, I think that since the studio who works on the WarioWare games seems to kind of like pump them out decently fast, that there could definitely be two WarioWare games. And again, if you have like a Mario Party release one year, a WarioWare release the other, because WarioWare now usually kind of is a party game too. So yeah, if you kind of have them release every year, alternating between Mario Party and WarioWare, that seems like a really good strategy to constantly bring in something that can be played by everybody in a multiplayer sense. Because that's kind of like the Switch 2's thing, is that it can be portable and then you can just play it with whoever. So I think the WarioWares are definitely going to stay. They're going to continue to just do experimental, fun minigame stuff with that series. And it's not going to really change that much. But hey, nothing wrong with that, I guess. Now, I'm going to talk about everything else. We're done with Mario. I think that everything else is like kind of self-explanatory except the thing that I'm going to talk about next, which is Zelda. Zelda's in a weird spot where like they have just done this formula changing thing, and now you kind of wonder what's next for The Legend of Zelda. I think obviously the newest 3D game, the direction that they could go once again is complete a trilogy, do another Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom like game, do a third game, really bring out a compelling story, really change up Hyrule, or just give us a whole new location to explore other than Hyrule. If they do that, then I think that's pretty cool. I think people would really like it. But I don't know, maybe there's another formula changer again. Maybe you scale down on the open world stuff, but you still keep some things from the newest games while bringing in a lot of the old stuff from the old formulas too, and mixing it all together. Kind of like how Bowser's Fury did, right? Where it's a smaller scale thing, but it's kind of combining all these different game elements that everybody liked from all these Zelda games and just mixing them together, I guess. Honestly, what I would like to see out of Zelda, I'd kind of like it to really focus on the combat aspect of things. The combat in Zelda games is never really too bad, but I don't know, I would like it to kind of see some full-on hack and slash movesets like for a Zelda game or something like that. I think that could be really fun. So, hey, yeah, that's just me. I like action games like that, but I know that Zelda is more about the puzzles and the exploration and stuff nowadays. I don't know if people would like more combat and less puzzles and less exploration or what, but that's the type of Zelda game that would kind of change things up a little bit if that's what they wanted to do, and that's kind of what I would like to see. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think the new Zelda is going to be. I think the safest thing to do is just another Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom type of game, and that's probably what they're going to do. I really do think the Switch 2 is going to be like super safe because they want the thing to sell, and there's no reason for them not to be safe, you know? Like, why not just be safe with your big franchises, and with the things that have been struggling a little bit, be a little more experimental. I think that's just the most obvious way to go with the new console. Anyway, there's going to be a new top-down Zelda 2. I don't expect this until like later into the console's life cycle, kind of like how we're getting now with the Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, I think it's called. I don't know what it could be. It could probably just be an expansion of Echoes of Wisdom, where maybe I think this could be a good hook for a player Zelda game. It's been a while since they've done a multiplayer one, and maybe instead of playing as 4 Links, you can do like Link, Zelda, throw in 2 other characters from the Zelda franchise that you can play as, maybe has some unlockable characters, but just make it a multiplayer game. I think that could be fun. It's the Switch 2, you want some more multiplayer stuff to offer. Next, let's talk about Fire Emblem. There's definitely going to be at least one new Fire Emblem. I'm just going to predict one, but there will be another Fire Emblem type of thing that I'll talk about later. But this new Fire Emblem probably will follow a similar format to what they did with the latest one, where it was just a bunch of fan service mainly. I think that's probably the direction that they want to continue to go with Fire Emblem, because there's just so many characters and the fan service at this point can be crazy, but I don't know. Maybe they'll want to take a more grounded approach with a new Fire Emblem too. I really don't know what to expect. I don't follow the series super well, so I guess we'll just see. Up next, let's talk about Monolith Soft. Let's talk about Xenoblade, or maybe not. Yeah, I think that Nintendo, they always like to throw out a new IP, and while I think it can just be something like how ARMS and Splatoon was, where it's just kind of like this cartoony thing with this gameplay mechanic that you've never seen before, I still think that could happen. But if there is any studio that works with Nintendo that has enough goodwill at this point to make a brand new IP, it's probably Monolith Soft. I don't know if anybody's really thinking about this right now, but yeah, I think Xenoblade 3, from what I've seen, again, I haven't played it, but from what I've seen, it seems like it's a very good, almost like finale to the Xenoblade series altogether. It seems like they really went all out on that game, and it seems like it's the best Xenoblade game of the three, and that could be a good note to end on for now, right? Maybe they could come back to the Xenoblade series with a fourth entry later, but I think if they're gonna do a new IP, where again, maybe they just have some anime characters or whatever, but maybe they don't call it Xenoblade, they still make it an RPG exploration game maybe, but they add some brand new mechanics that completely separate from Xenoblade in some way. And I think that could legitimately be a pretty good direction for that studio to get a new IP in there, so that they don't just have Xenoblade. They can flex their creative muscles. They can do things that maybe they've been thinking about doing for the past couple of years, but they just couldn't do because they've been working on all the Xenoblade games, right? I think if they're gonna throw out a new IP, now's the time that they would do it. So I'm just throwing that out as a possibility. Of course, they could just do Xenoblade 4, and it's probably more likely than a new IP, but I think Monolith Soft doing a new IP could legitimately be very interesting. Other than that, you gotta have Xenoblade in there somewhere, which is why I'm proposing that Nintendo continues its partnership with the Warriors series, and it does a new Warriors game, but with Xenoblade characters. I think that's the safest way to go there. Alright, here's the big one. We are going to talk about what Sakurai is going to do, because even though he's been preoccupied with his YouTube channel and giving back in that way to give his advice and to give his insights on things, he said a while ago now that he has done all of his recordings for his videos and they will be coming out over time. So that must mean that he's probably back into game dev at this point. And there's only really 3 possibilities that could arise here. 3 things that Nintendo would want him to do if he's going to come back and develop for Switch 2. I think the least likely out of any of them is going to end up being a Kid Icarus Uprising remake. This is something that Sakurai himself has been kind of pushing for. If you watch his videos, you can see, yeah, it sure would be nice if we could bring this to new players, or, you know, he says something like that when he's talking about Kid Icarus Uprising. So I think he wants it, but the big thing is, does Nintendo want it? And I think, you know what, like I bet they do, but man, I really don't think that as long as Smash Brothers is a possibility, right, that new Smash Brothers content or a new Smash Brothers game is possible, that Nintendo's going to pass that up over Kid Icarus Uprising. I don't think that a Kid Icarus Uprising remake is going to happen as long as Sakurai is involved in Smash, which basically means that probably a Kid Icarus Uprising remake is never going to happen, which kind of sucks. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. It's completely possible too that Sakurai does something with Smash and then after that he works on a Kid Icarus Uprising thing. Or, since he worked on Smash Ultimate, he could work on Kid Icarus Uprising at the start of the console's lifespan, and then maybe later down the road he could do a new Smash game. But really, what I think is the most likely thing here is that they're probably going to do some kind of Smash Ultimate expansion. And it's not far-fetched at all. First of all, you saw what Mario Kart 8 became. It got the booster pack and it added a whole bunch of new crap. So they could just do that with Smash Ultimate where they say, hey, after so many years of it not being in development, we're going to come back to this game and we're going to add new characters to it. And that's really just the easiest way to make a game bigger than Smash Ultimate is just by adding on to Smash Ultimate, and that won't disappoint any fans, right? Because a lot of people are talking about a reboot to the Smash series. What I personally think is that sure, a reboot is definitely possible, but I don't think it's gonna happen under Sakurai. I just don't. I think the guy is a very deliberate game developer who is really set on his way of doing things, and I don't think he likes to change things too much. Realistically, the only way that I see a reboot for Smash actually changing things up in any way between gameplay mechanics, character movesets, etc. is if there's actually a new director for the Smash games. Like when there is a new director, when Sakurai just cannot do it anymore for whatever reason, and he can't work on Smash anymore, there's going to have to be a new director. Because they will want to continue to do Smash Brothers stuff, even after Sakurai is no longer available to work on games. When there's a new director, that's when a reboot's going to happen, with like a smaller roster, but the roster will have different moves and yada yada yada. I think that when Sakurai's done, that's the best time to do that. But I think if you want to really make the biggest fighting game even bigger, then what you do is you get Sakurai back on board. Just add more characters and more stages and maybe some additional stuff. Like make a Smash Ultimate Edition that has all the DLC characters for Switch 2, and then start doing fire passes for it. That's probably the best thing that you could possibly do with the Smash Brothers franchise at this point, and I think it's the most likely direction that they will go. And I wouldn't be too sad about it. I'm not a huge fan of Smash Ultimate's gameplay. It's not terrible, but I don't like it as much as a lot of the other platform fighters on the market right now. With that being said though, it's still a very special game. And for them to not build upon it even more, because it's the best selling fighting game of all time. Mario Kart 8 was the best selling racing game of all time, so they could just add DLC on it after 4 years of not working on it, and it still probably sold super duper well, and they can just do the same thing with Smash Ultimate. They really could, and I think that's what they're gonna do. Now, I'm predicting a new Pokemon game or two. I think it's very likely that we're just going to get one. But you know how Game Freak is and the Pokemon Company. They throw two out there just for the sake of it. Maybe when they should have more development time dedicated to maybe just one Pokemon game, they'll say, no, we'll do this year and do that a couple years later. So that's kind of what I see from Pokemon. I don't know. I just think they'll probably end up doing two, even though they should just do one. I don't think there's really any more I gotta say about Pokemon other than it's just gonna keep on doing its Pokemon thing. Now, this next one is really interesting, but I think it's guaranteed. There's something that's gonna happen with this franchise again. I think with Pikmin really getting a huge shine on the Nintendo Switch, I think for the Switch 2, Mr. Miyamoto is going to want to go back to a franchise that I know he holds near and dear to his heart too, and he's going to want to do it justice just like he kind of did with Pikmin. And it's going to be Star Fox. I think Star Fox will come back, and I think it'll come back with a brand new game. That's what I hope. But before I get into that, really, I kind of want to bring up another possibility too. I think one of these two things is going to happen. I don't think both are going to happen. If both happen to be really cool, but I think one of these two things are going to happen. It's either going to be a new Star Fox game, which is what I would like to see personally, or maybe they do Star Fox 99. Okay, they need a new 99 game because they keep doing these 99, 35, whatever games. And like, why wouldn't you do it with Star Fox? You could have the graphics maybe just be similar to Star Fox 64, that's the most beloved one. But it could be like those levels where there's just a whole bunch of starships flying every which direction and you have to destroy as many as possible, right? I think a Star Fox 99 would be a lot of fun. Maybe if you destroy one ship, you get the white ring that refills your health a little bit. You destroy 3, you get the gold one that increases your health bar. So like, yeah, you just continue to be more and more powerful as you destroy other ships. And then by the time you get to the end, it's a 1v1 dogfight. Somebody's got to come out on top eventually. And maybe there could just be random power-ups here and there. Throw out the smart bomb. Destroy a whole bunch of airships at once. Just something crazy like that. I think that has potential to be really chaotic and really fun. I want to see it happen, personally. I think if they did both concepts, that would be amazing, right? If they did a new Star Fox game and then Star Fox 99, that would be like the best case scenario for me personally. I'm a huge Star Fox guy. So still though, if they just do one or the other, I think I'll be super duper happy with that. Now, of course, just bringing up 99, I think the thing that we gotta talk about here is the possibility of a new F-Zero game. I don't think that's super likely, but when Nintendo kind of dips their toes into the water with an F-Zero 99, you'd like to think, hey, maybe they're experimenting with how popular can F-Zero really be, right? How high can the player base get? How much of a consistent player base can an F-Zero 99 keep? And as far as I could tell, F-Zero 99 did very well. So I don't see a reason why you couldn't just continue on and make a new F-Zero game maybe just in the middle of Nintendo Switch 2's lifespan. Just do something that that kind of continues where, what is it, GX? I don't know what the last F-Zero game was. I think it was on GameCube, right? Just start where that one left off. Just make it similar to that game. Add some new stuff to it. Maybe add some new racers, some brand new characters in there. Some new staples within the series. And other than that, just make it an F-Zero game. People like the appeal of F-Zero games. And it shows, man. There's like an indie game out right now that's very inspired by F-Zero that looks super sick, and a lot of people are excited about it. People want these types of games. So to pass up on a potential new F-Zero game, I think would be kind of dumb. But at the same time, I still don't think it's very likely. Like, I give that like a good 60% chance of happening. But I still think it's possible. But with, again, let's go back to Miyamoto. With him, definitely probably ended up being busy with Star Fox. Where does that leave Pikmin? I still think a lot of people love Pikmin, and I think that Nintendo Miyamoto will want to do some kind of Pikmin content, so what I would think is that maybe they would just do a Pikmin 4 expansion DLC. Why not? Again, even though the time frame between the release of Pikmin 4 and a DLC would be kind of long, I don't think Nintendo really cares about that type of thing. They just kind of do what they want to do, and they could just add some new levels to Pikmin 4, kind of like how they did, I think, with Pikmin 3. Again, don't play Pikmin, but I think there's DLC for Pikmin 3, so they could just kind of do something similar for Pikmin 4 and leave it at that. I think that would make the Pikmin fans happy. Next, I think there's going to be a new 2D Metroid game. I don't think there's going to be a new 3D one. I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be the really big one. And then after that, Retro Studios is not going to work on another Metroid Prime for a long time. Or anything similar to it, right? Like some kind of pseudo successor that's not called Metroid Prime. Maybe it's some other different title. But I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Retro's going to work on Donkey Kong, so with that leaves just the only real possibility of a new 2D Metroid game. And I just think that it's probably going to end up being a sequel to Metroid Dread. It's just going to be the continuation of that story. And I think it'd be really cool because Samus ends Dread with this brand new power. If you haven't played it, I won't spoil it, but it could be cool to play the game with that type of thing and to just continue on. Maybe Samus could learn even more about the Chozos and her origin and stuff like that. And maybe there's a bigger threat than Ravenbeak out there somewhere that she needs to defeat, or alien race like she usually does. She just she takes out the Metroid, she takes out the SAX, right? The thing, the virus that causes that to happen. Like, maybe she does need to go back and destroy the virus again. I don't know. There's a thing I'll talk about later that could tie in with that. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. There's going to be a new 3D Kirby game. There's going to be a sequel to Forgotten Land. It's really all I got to say there. Like, that game is great, and I think they're going to want to do a sequel where they expand upon that game. I think there's going to be maybe a 2D remake of a Kirby game. As much as I would like for them to kind of go back to maybe one of the more original games, like, why not do a remake of Dreamland 2 and 3, maybe as like a bundle? I think that'd be really cool if they did that. But I don't know, I think like a 3DS game is more likely, just because the 3DS games, both Triple Deluxe and Robobot, were both like very well received, considered the best in the series, so I could see something like that again. Maybe they do one or the other or both in a package, where it's kind of just like a HD upscale or something like that. Yeah, that's probably the most likely thing. And then of course there's always some Kirby spin-offs too, and I think there's going to be new ones, instead of them always going back to like the fighters concept, or the one where you fight bosses, like the boss rush thing, you have different classes. I don't think they're going to do any of that. They're probably just going to do a new game like the Dream Buffet was. And yeah, they're probably going to do more than one of those, so. But still, I guess if they find some kind of staple thing, like, I wouldn't be surprised if a Dream Buffet 2 happened. So if they find something within those mini games and they're successful, then they can do a sequel to it. And I think, yeah, now that I think about it, Dream Buffet 2 probably will happen. But I still think there'll be some new spin-offs along with something like that. Now, this is not as likely, but I don't think that the studio who worked on this before will be doing anything super crazy, unless, again, they end up working on Mario Baseball, which I think they would, but I think that it's about time for a new Punch-Out game. I really do. I don't think that it's like super likely. I'll give it like a 70%, 65% chance of happening, maybe. I think it's more likely than not. At this point, it's been so long since there's been a new Punch-Out game, and I think that people are craving it. Again, there's a lot of like indie games out there that are trying to kind of throw their hat into the circle here and try and make some memorable Punch-Out like games. So Punch-Out releasing on Switch 2 maybe you hold your Joy-Cons to punch, right? Kind of like the Wii game. I think that would be appealing. I think that would be something that people would buy. Punch Out is always really fun, so I don't see a reason why not to do a Punch Out. It missed out on the Switch, and again, holding the Joy-Cons to punch and the duck and stuff like that. That's just a type of gimmick that I think you can't really pass up. They did it with the Switch, and I don't think they should do it with the Switch too. I think they should just make a new game already. Speaking of new games, a lot of people have talked about wanting a remake of this franchise, but I think that there should just straight up be a new game. And the new game that I would like out of this franchise is Tomodachi Life, okay? I would like a Tomodachi Life too. They made a remake for, what's it called? I don't know, the Mii game. It's like an RPG. That one. That had all the funny ways that you could customize your Mii to really make it actually look like it's not even a Mii anymore. Like, that's how robust the customization was. I would just like to see that with a Tomodachi Life 2. And again, with Tomodachi Life 2, maybe they could give you a bigger island and more residents in your hotel or whatever, and more interactions that each resident can have with each other. Just again, expand upon Tomodachi Life, and I think that could be a big success. Next, I think this is really unlikely, honestly, but I would personally like to see a new Pokken tournament altogether. It's been so long since the first game came out, and I think that a sequel could be really fun. But I don't know. I mean, there also is a possibility that there could be maybe a new 3D fighter crossover that kind of has that same feel as Pokken Tournament, where it's like a 3D arena fighter, but maybe it turns into 2D. I don't know. It worked really well, Pokemon, and I don't really see another franchise where it could work as well. I don't know. Again, maybe they could do that with Xenoblade. I doubt it. Again, like, it's really hard to pinpoint which franchise they would even do something like that with, you know? Like, Pokemon really is just the perfect one to turn into just like a more casual fighting game like that. Leave your suggestions, man. I would like to know. Because I think Pokken Tournament 2, if they're going to do something like that again, is just the most likely landing spot. But what do you think? Maybe... I think that could be something really fun for Kirby to do, actually, is to do like a 3D arena fighting game, something like that. Because it has jumped into 3D now, so yeah, why not, right? But other than like Kirby and Pokemon, I really don't see any other Nintendo franchise that really sticks out that could do something like that successfully. So yeah, I don't know. Just let me know what you think. Do you even think that there's a necessity for that? Or do you think maybe also that Pokemon could do like a 2D fighting game instead, just straight up 2D? It actually plays like a little more like a traditional fighting game. I would think that maybe there wouldn't be command inputs at all, but they could still have some kind of button scheme that's similar to regular fighting games. Right? Like, let me know what you think, where that kind of game could be within Nintendo's library, or if you think it's even necessary at all. Again, me personally, I think it's very unlikely. I don't think that they're really going to care about something like that, honestly, but maybe. We'll see. I think that it's likely that there could be a new Splatoon. I think. I don't think that Nintendo will want to pass up on doing a new Splatoon game. And Splatoon 3 at this point has completely finished. All their Splatfests are done. It seems like the development on that game is fully, completely done now. So maybe they want to work right into a Splatoon 4. But I don't know. Again, it's really possible that the studio that works on Splatoon could maybe just do a new IP again. Try and do lightning in a bottle twice, because they already did it with Splatoon, so maybe they can do it again with some new idea. I don't know. Next up, I'm not going to talk about it much. I don't play this franchise like at all. Never played an Animal Crossing in my life, but I think there'll be a new Animal Crossing game, and it'll probably be better than the last one. I heard that people have mixed feelings on the last one, so hopefully they make one that makes a lot of people happy this time around, but I think there'll be a new one. Alright, this next one, I don't think is likely, but I want to throw it out there because it really has been a long time since any type of game like this has been worked on. And I would like to think that maybe they'd want to do a Rhythm Heaven. I still think the most likely thing to happen is that there's just going to be 2 new WarioWare games and they don't work on Rhythm Heaven at all. But who knows? Maybe they could do just 1 new WarioWare game, Mario Party. Then there's a new Rhythm Heaven game, and then another Mario Party. And again, I think it'd be cool if Rhythm Heaven was like a multiplayer experience. Yeah, that's the only way I realistically think that Rhythm Heaven can come back, is if there's only 1 new WarioWare game, and I think they could probably get away with that. People have been wanting Rhythm Heaven. I think they want not even necessarily something new, they just want to know that the franchise is alive, you know? So just throw a bone out there. Nintendo likes doing that. Just throw out a bone and say, hey, yeah, we still think about it. Here's something that you can play, at least. And now you can play it with your friends or something so you can get them into the franchise. I think that's the best direction they can go. Next, big question mark on this one. But maybe, I mean, this is not something a lot of people think about anymore, so that's why I kind of have a question mark, and I think it's less likely. But is there going to be a new Astral Chain? Like an Astral Chain 2? Like, I would like to think, I haven't played the game, but I'd like to think that that franchise is open-ended enough to where they could bring in a whole new protagonist that has whole new powers or whatever, and then make a completely different Astral Chain out of that. I don't know. I mean, it could have a completely different story too. I think there's a possibility for it to be, you know, just expanded upon, the universe of that game to be expanded upon with different new things. Like, it was pretty cool for what it was, and I'd like to see a sequel to it. I don't think it's likely, but I think that'd be pretty cool. What's probably more likely is just a new Bayonetta game, because Bayonetta is Bayonetta. Those games always get pretty high praise as far as I can tell. It brings in a completely, you know, different audience than Nintendo usually likes to throw out there, right? It's a hack and slash. It's kind of like a DMC. It's like Nintendo's DMC now at this point. I don't see a reason why they wouldn't just do like another Bayonetta. It seems like they still put a lot of stock in the Bayonetta games, so why not just throw one out there, right? Maybe they could do both. Maybe they could do a Bayonetta and a Astral Chain 2, and that could be the lineup from that development studio. One thing I think that will probably happen is a Ring Fit 2, because it's kind of in the same ballpark as the Wii Fit series, where like Wii Fit was super duper successful, and then they went and made more games and more accessories out of that franchise. And I think that the same thing could happen with Ring Fit, right? They could just continue to add more workouts or whatever with the ring. Maybe they could do a brand new ring that has some kind of different feature, who knows what, I don't know, maybe there's like vibrations or I don't know, weird stuff that maybe will make it harder to work out, I don't know, but I think that they could turn Ring Fit into some kind of like fitness franchise thing and just keep going with it, man. It has like some actual potential, and I played it once and it was actually like kind of hard. I think people like the game, and maybe it should just continue. Maybe there should be a new game with some new stuff that people can look forward to. I don't know. Like, whatever, man. Why not? The first game was successful, keep going. And then finally, not like a 100% guarantee here. Like, I think Ring Fit 2 is probably like a 100% guarantee. This not so much, but this is a popular franchise, and I think that a new Brain Age is just kind of obvious, right? Like, it's been a while, and I think maybe it doesn't seem like the Switch 2 is going to come with a stylus. I really thought that that was going to be something that they would do, but it doesn't look like that's the case. But still, they can make it work. You know, I still think, you know, you could do a touchscreen type of thing with the Switch without a stylus, and then you could still do the Brain Age stuff where you answer questions and draw things and whatever else. it could still work. It could still work. But I think that's everything that I'm predicting for Nintendo first party, just in terms of new games. But I would be a fool if I didn't dedicate a whole section to remakes, because Nintendo right now, they love their freaking remakes, and I think that there's going to be a lot of them on Switch 2 still. So let's go over the ones that I think are most likely and the ones I think I would personally like to see. The most likely one to me is a Fire Emblem remake of some kind. I don't know, they've remade a lot of them already, so I guess whichever one would be next in the saga here of remakes is probably what they're going to end up doing. I think with Brothership coming out, that maybe they will want to continue the tradition of remaking Mario and Luigi games, because they just love to do that for some reason. Like Alpha Dream did it until they died. So maybe it's not the best idea in the world to do a remake of a Mario and Luigi game, but I think it would make a lot of people happy to have a remake of the game within this new like 3D environment thing that Brothership is introducing, this brand new art style that they're introducing within these 3D environments. I think, the most likely thing, obviously, is a Dream Team remake. So, yeah, man. I mean, why not? There's already some 3D models in that game when it came to, like, the giant fights. So, why not do a Dream Team remake and really just bring the art style completely together, along with just bringing back that game. It's a very beloved game. Even though I don't think people think it's as good as Bowser's Inside Story, I still think people love it and people like to see it remade. It's just easy money, probably. Once they make Brothership, they can just reuse the assets and get some new ones in there, and it'll probably be easy money. Here's something that I don't think is a 100% guarantee, but I think it could happen again to bring in some more goodwill back into the Mario sports game franchises, right? Because I think people are kind of burnt out on them, but I think a lot of people agree that the best sports game from Mario, or at least one of them, is Mario Strikers 1, the original on GameCube. People love that game, and could you imagine if it got remade, and could you imagine if it had online? Oh my god, I think that's like a gold mine that you can't pass up. While Battle League was kind of like disappointing for a lot of people, I think that if they do a remake of the first Strikers game, you really can't go wrong there. You really can't, and I think that would make a lot of people happy. It would make a lot of people happy. That is probably like the Mario sports game with the biggest cult following behind it, so I think for me, that's like them pushing the emergency button on the Mario Sports franchise. I think they need to do it right now because the past couple have not been great. I think a remake of WarioWare Smooth Moves, man, my voice is giving out, sorry. I've been talking for too long. But yeah, WarioWare Smooth Moves, a remake of it, is possible because they just released the game, the last WarioWare game. I think it's called Move It. It's very similar to Smooth Moves, so I don't see a reason why they wouldn't just remake Smooth Moves. Like, I don't think it's likely, but I don't see a reason why they wouldn't do it, right? I think the only thing that's holding them back is the other things that the studio could do. They might want to prioritize a new WarioWare, or they might want to prioritize Rhythm Heaven over remaking a WarioWare game when it's not really necessary to do. Again, they basically made the sequel to Smooth Moves at this point, so I don't think it's likely, but again, I think it just makes sense out of all the WarioWare games that would be the one that gets remade if they want to do a remake for whatever reason. I think with new Pokemon Snap, that's probably like decently likely, not super likely, but decently likely that they would remake just the original Pokemon Snap. Again, I don't see a reason why not. They could just use the same engine, some of the same models. Just remake the game from the 64, enhance the graphics, bring back Professor Oak, baby, and I could see that just being successful. I could see it being easy money. We all know how much the Pokemon Company loves easy money, okay? Like, if they can just pump stuff out constantly with the Pokemon franchise, they will. But I don't know, I mean, maybe Pokemon Snap 3 could happen too, I don't know, but I think a Pokemon Snap remake would make people happy, and if we're talking about Pokemon remakes, we definitely have to talk about the mainline series, of course. Of course, it's 100% happening. We're gonna get Pokemon Black and White 1, for sure. Now, 2? I think the Pokemon Company kind of sees that as its own separate game, so maybe they would just do separate remakes for it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that would turn out, really. I don't know if they would bundle 1 and 2 together and remake them. I think that's probably the most likely scenario, I would like to think. So I don't know how they handle that situation. It seems like it would be really interesting to see how they do that. With how Diamond and Pearl went, maybe people just really do expect them to just do Black and White 1 and just completely forget about 2, right? It's possible, man. It's possible. Pokemon Company, you can't trust them as far as you can throw them, so we'll see how they handle it. I hope they handle it the best way they can, instead of doing it the way that makes them the most money, right? Where they do Black and White 1, 2 for like $60, and then a little bit later on, maybe in the next console, they do Black and White 2. It's possible, man. It really is. And maybe that's something they need to do if they want to just continue to do the remakes that way. Like a remake of X and Y would feel more substantial if it's like a console generation or 2 away from now. I don't know. Whatever. I think something that's less likely, but I think they're probably going to do it because, again, Pokemon Company likes to print money. They'll probably do a Let's Go Gen 2. I don't see why not. I mean, it's really about as simple as that. You get Ho-Oh and what's the other one? Lugia. God, how did I not remember that straight away? That's bad. I am so disenfranchised with Pokemon. I don't know if you guys can tell. Yeah, that's probably what they're gonna do, right? Sure. Yeah. Let's just end it there. These things are definitely less likely. The next 2 things I'm going to talk about, but hey, you know what? I think that they're possible. I think it'd be really fun. What I would like to see, personally, is Super Mario Land 1 and or 2 remakes. So either they just remake one or the other, or they bundle them together. Since I think they're both really short games, they should probably bundle it together if this is what they end up doing. But man, wouldn't it be cool if Super Mario Land came back and they both had like proper like 3D animated graphics to them? And again, maybe a completely different art style from Mario Wonder just to differentiate the two. I think that could be fun, man. Like, why not? I think a lot of people actually like the Mario Land games, but there's a lot of people who haven't played the games yet still, so I think that's just a prime opportunity to do a remake, right? To do a remake of those types of games. The games where they're kind of like hidden gems on their consoles. The people who have played them love them, but still not a lot of people played it. So it's kind of like a Link's Awakening situation, too, where that was a hidden gem that was really fun, and Nintendo actually did decide to remake it. I think they could do the same thing with Mario Land. Why not? This next one, ooh man, I know it'll make a lot of people happy. And again, I think it's a cult classic type of thing where it doesn't have the biggest fan base, but anybody who's played it has loved it, and that's Golden Sun. If they do anything with Golden Sun, it's probably just gonna like be a remake of the first game and you leave it at that. But still, imagine a Golden Sun with like modern 3D graphics. I think that'd just be really cool. Something like a Golden Sun could really show off the graphic fidelity of a Switch 2 if they do it right, because it's just an RPG. It's meant to be super flashy. So I think now's the time again to do it. They want to do it because Golden Sun fans haven't had something for a really long time. So why not, man? Why not? I think this next one is 100% guaranteed, actually. Again, just because of how I think the story between this remake and the new Metroid could kind of like collide and be similar. But I think a remake of Metroid Fusion is gonna happen, and I think they'll probably do Metroid Fusion first, and then they'll do the new Metroid game so that the people who play Metroid Fusion know about. Again, I'm completely forgetting the virus's name. I'm sorry, but you know, the one that infects things and then it can turn into different. Yeah, people will know about that virus, and I think Samus will have to fight it again in the new Metroid game and take it down once and for all, okay? Like, eliminate it all. Eliminate the entire parasite race, and again, maybe, I don't know, with her newfound powers, actually be able to do it this time. And to stop, again, I guess the Chozos were the ones trying to experiment with it, or what, I don't know. But I forget, it's been a while since I played Dread, but she can stop all that crap from happening, basically. So that's what I would like to think they're going to do. Another 100% guarantee here. I don't think a lot of people would say that they think this is 100% guarantee, but I'm going to say it, okay? It's time for Nintendogs, alright? A Nintendogs remake. It's a gold mine, bro. It's a franchise that has been dormant for a long time, and I'm surprised about, because I know for sure that those types of games made a lot of money, so they could just do a remake, not give it touch controls. It doesn't really need touch controls. You can kind of just have like a cursor on the screen instead or something, but again, if it has a touch screen, then I think that it would work out just fine. You don't really need a stylus to play Nintendogs. I think it would work out. I really do. I think a Nintendogs remake would make a lot of money, and again, I think the nostalgia is there. I think the nostalgia would really peak if they did it right about now, because the people who grew up with those games, you know, they're like me. They're in their 20s now. So if they brought it back, I think it would actually excite people quite a bit. And again, you bring in new fans too. The new fans would be, you know, about as old as I was when I first played the Nintendo games, and they would probably love it too. So why not, man? And got two more here, okay? But actually, my last thing I'm going to talk about really encompasses a whole bunch of franchises. It's going to be really interesting. You better stay tuned, okay? We're almost done. I know I've been ranting for a long time. We're almost done, though. I think this next game I'm going to talk about, though, before that, I don't think this is likely, but again, You Strike While the Iron is Hot, Pizza Tower, and Anton Blast really have gotten people to talk about Wario Land. So if I were Nintendo, if I were smart, and again, I wanted to throw a bone out to the people who've been dying to have something said about this franchise ever since, again, the Wii, I think that you just remake Wario Land 4. I think you just do it. Give it modern graphics and throw it out there and say, there you go, guys. You have a Wario Land, finally. And people gobble it up and say, thank you, Nintendo. I don't know, like, why wouldn't you do that? There's no reason not to do that. Just do it. Just do it. Just piggyback off of it and revive the franchise just for the people who want it. And again, maybe later on in the next console, if it does well, you can actually make Wario Land 6, I guess it would be. Okay, and then the last thing that I think should be done. Okay, there's a demographic that Nintendo doesn't really reach for, but again, with the fact that like the Olympic games are kind of gone and the Mario sports games are not doing amazing, I think that there's a window of opportunity here for Nintendo to reach into their pool of old IPs and to create something, probably just a remake, right? Because it's been so long since a lot of these franchises have been touched. I think while they could do a new version of any of these games, I think remakes are the best thing they could do. But they need to tap into their extreme sport fan base, okay? They need to add some kind of extreme sport game to the Nintendo Switch, in my opinion. It's just been something that they have not touched for a really long time. Again, you had the Olympic Games that kind of covered things like snowboarding, stuff like that, but it's just not there now. So they could potentially revive something like 1,080 snowboarding, however you say that. They could just do a remake and imagine the graphics on something like that. Wouldn't that be cool? I don't think it's likely, but I think it could be cool. You could do something like Pilot Wings again. Sure, the last Pilot Wings game wasn't that long ago, but yeah, again, you just do like the gliding around and stuff. Maybe you actually are flying in a plane. I think they could probably do something like that pretty easily. I think that's more likely than not. Then you got Wave Race. Again, imagine a Wave Race remake that has modern graphics, that has super high fidelity graphics. Wouldn't it look beautiful, man? Like, this is what I'm talking about when you want to show off your graphics for the Switch 2. Like, stuff like this could legitimately show off the graphics very well. You could have, like, super realistic water physics, you know, the best looking water of all time in a Wave Race game. I think it could actually be cool for them to explore this type of stuff again. And of course, Excitebike. Excitebike is the last thing I can mention here when it comes to this. It's due for a revival, I think, and they could just remake the NES game. They could make it like $20 a pop, and I think it would do pretty decent for itself in that way. Again, maybe add some stuff to the old game here and there, but yeah, other than that, I don't know, you just do Excitebike. You jump off of crap, you try and avoid puddles, whatever else. It's a decent gameplay loop that I think people would get behind, but it's not as exciting to me as something like the snowboarding or the Wave Race game that could potentially happen, right? And again, if you want to really show off your graphics, you would probably end up doing a whole new Excitebike game instead, maybe like a first-person thing or third-person racing game with Excitebike. Like, why not do that, man? I think that'd be really sick. Oh god, my voice. Oh, Lord have mercy. That's just about everything I wanted to talk about on a first-party level at this point. Of course, I talked about some third-party stuff here and there, but everybody on the third-party side works pretty closely with Nintendo, so I put it in there as if it was first-party. With that being said, if there's one third-party franchise that doesn't really work with Nintendo a huge amount for new stuff that I'd like to see something new out of, please God, please just let WarioWare do a remake of something. Let them do a Banjo-Kazooie remake. Let them do a 007 remake. Let them do any of those like N64 games that they've added to the expansion pass. Just do one of those as a remake too. I mean, I don't really care at this point. I just think that if WarioWare remade one of those older games for the Nintendo Switch, it can make Nintendo and Microsoft a lot of money. It would make a lot of people happy, so just do that. But I think that's everything exhausted now, and I'm exhausted. And let me know what you think about all my predictions and all the things that I've brought up here, and let me know what you would want to see out of the Switch 2, what you think could be coming. And it's really fun to talk about this stuff, but yeah, you could talk about it for such a long time. Oh my god. Ooh. Yeah, but I felt like I needed to make the video now because I feel like the Switch 2, its reveal is just imminent at this point, so let's get a discussion going, guys. Let's have some fun. As channel members, you know, I'll pay attention to you more than anything else, and I'll continue to try and throw out content when I can, of course. If you like stuff like this where I just sit down and talk about whatever in a semi-organized way, let me know. I'll continue to try and do stuff like this, but other than that, I'm gonna go. I'll see you guys later. Bye.